What is up, everybody, and welcome to this episode of the Starfield Growth Show. I'm really excited to have a familiar face on here, the other Randy in the roofing industry, Randy Hurtado with DT Companies, DT Roofing, as well as the Good Contractor List. And today, we're just two contractors having a discussion about how to separate yourself. If you want to be one of the top contractors in your market, what are some things you can do to separate yourself? So if that's interesting to you, you're going to want to stay tuned and hang out with us. All right, my man. Hey, great to have you back on, dude. As always, it's great hanging out with you and great having combos. What is up? What's new and exciting in your world, my man?
Oh, what isn't? Honestly, we're going through a great season right now. We have some new grandkids. Obviously, my recent joining of the Good Contractors List C-suite as their COO, so I can help take the company nationwide, which that's going fantastic. Our companies, our local companies, are just smashing it. It looks like right now we're shooting towards between 45 and 50 million total for the companies, and each company is just in their own way growing and expanding in the markets. So we're really excited about 2026 coming. We really think it's going to be a banner year for our company. I hear a lot of people talking about 2025 sucking, and we're not experiencing that. So praise God for that. But we're super excited about the growth all the way around.
I love it, man. It's always fun when you're in a growth mode and good things are happening in your business. And you know, the reality of it is, I think anybody who's been in business for any length of time, you go through cycles, right? There's going to be really good years. There's going to be some kind of crappy, rough learning years, I like to call them. And then there's going to be some good, steady, ideally, the ideal scenario is a good, steady growth, right? And I think you and I are very kindred and when we kind of talked about your story in the last podcast, so we don't need to necessarily dive into that heavily. And if you're just tuning in with us, hey, we filmed a really good show a couple months back, and it was awesome. So tune back into that one. You can find that on there. Just search out in the podcast platform. But what I was saying is, we're very kindred in that, both owners, CEOs of roofing companies, and in your case, in my case, both we have other companies as well. But the focus in starting and building a company was always differentiating yourself. How do you do things different? How do you do things better? And how do you present yourself, as a really good top level contractor? And we talked a lot about that. And I know when I first started, I knew I was in a very competitive environment. There's lots of other roofing contractors, and it's challenging. It's overwhelming when you're a small company. You're trying to grow, trying to differentiate yourself, and that's a question that comes up all the time in coaching. How do I make myself different? Like, what do we do differently? And in my case, I looked at the industry and I looked at what everyone else was doing, and I actually made it part of our mission statement is to challenge the industry status quo. Like, find ways to challenge yourself and do things differently. And it can be really subtle differences, and it can be massive differences. And I want to challenge you as you're listening. And I'm gonna ask Randy like what he's done. But early on in my business, that was the focus. And I constantly, every year, evaluate and look at my business and ask myself that same question: what can I do differently? What is everybody else doing? And what can I do differently to challenge that, right? And I think that's just a core entrepreneurial skill set and trait that we all need to have if we want to be really successful as entrepreneurs. So I'm going to ask you that question. Randy, what do you do like when getting your business going? Like, what are some things that really differentiate you, that make you different, and that have helped you become the best in your market?
Well, I think when people hear that question, they naturally think about process, internal process. How do we deliver the quality of service better? And that is important, and that is definitely going to differentiate you. But you have to get to the customer first in order for that to even be seen by the homeowner or whoever you're serving. And so differentiating yourself internally is important from a standpoint of what your process looks like. How do you communicate? I think is equally as important, if not more, is differentiating yourself on how the people find you. and
Mm.
how they learn to want to do business with you in the first place. And so, I've talked about this. I hinted a little bit on the last podcast, but our big difference, I would say, if you categorized us with our other with local companies that do similar services, is our innate ability to build relationships with other professionals that need our services in order for them to be successful. Because traditionally, with your marketing, your SEO, your billboards, your wraps, all the traditional stuff that you're doing, that's going to find the homeowner to do business with. But there's a lot of business to be had and to be found through relationships with people that otherwise have customers that they can't offer your service to, but they need a good partner that they can trust, that you won't soil that relationship by them introducing you to them. And so that's been a big area for us in the real estate world, in the insurance agent world, and in the property management world for both our residential roofing company and our commercial roofing company. That's really added a huge amount of opportunity to us by thinking outside the box and not just marketing to the traditional end customer, but also intentionally building those relationships. So when we have situations, and it happens in all markets, whether they're storm or retail markets, where things slow down a little bit, we look at that as an opportunity to then go out and forge those relationships even stronger, so that when it does get busy, all those relationships come home to roost. And so I think that's where a lot of business owners may miss out on, is you can differentiate yourself not just in the way you do business, but how you're found and by whom, by thinking outside the box, the traditional
Yeah.
box. Yeah.
Yeah. And we did talk about that in the last little, but I mean, it can't be talked about enough,
No.
because this is something, I mean, regardless of what industry you're in, like the question you need to ask yourself, I believe, as the entrepreneur is, one, we have to really understand your ideal, the ICP, the ideal candidate profile. Like, who is your customer? Like, who is your ideal customer? Who are your ideal customers? And if it's homeowners or commercial or whatever it is, first you have to really lean in and define that. There's some amazing programs and marketers out there that can really help you with that. ChatGPT, like, you'll get some insight as to like really, really, really defining what your ideal client is. And then we got to ask ourselves a question: how can we do something different? And
Mhm.
then part of that question is, who already does business with my ideal client
Yep.
profile?
Yep. And
And
now.
then
Mhm.
you target that audience.
Yeah.
In every market, this is, I know a lot the insurance world kind of saturates and kind of over, but that's not even what we're talking about here.
Mhm.
If you're in a market that gets hail every year, sure, go to insurance agents. But this is a philosophy and a way to do business, to build, no matter what widget you're selling. It doesn't matter if you're in roofing or if you're in any industry.
That's
Figure
it.
out who already does business with your ideal client,
Right.
and really focus on building genuine, real, like relationships, quid pro quo. Like, how can I serve you? What can I do for you? And then all of a sudden it'll eventually reciprocate. But the other thing is, you got to be able to be willing and able and patient enough to play the long game.
Yeah, so I actually wrote about this in Daniel Zavatny's book. I wrote a chapter in it called "The Secret Sales Force," and that's essentially what you help these professional partners become. Is they sell for you by knowing that you exist, knowing how professional you are and what services you offer, and then when they see the need for that, they already know who they're going to work with. And so and then there's the as we're on the topic of standing out, there's also the approach to not only in your own community, but into new communities that you're trying to serve. Is most, I would say, in my experience, most roofing companies, when they want to go into a new market, they, ramp up their SEO, they ramp up their billboards, their all the traditional stuff, which is all, and you need to do that. I'm not saying that you don't need to do that, but they don't think outside the box in the human touch way that you can introduce yourself, introduce the human side of you and not just your services, right? And so, like, I'll give an example that we did recently. We opened up an office in a neighboring county that is about twice the size of the county that we are headquartered in. And we looked at an opportunity to partner with a local malt shop, right? Where we reached out to them. We're like, hey, you guys seem to be the popular spot this time of year. And
Mhm.
what day in the week are you not busy? Because every time you drive by that place, it seemed like they had a line. They're like, oh, Wednesdays. Wednesdays is like ghost town around here for some reason. Great. So in 2 Wednesdays, we want to host an event here at your location to help bring in some business, and we're going to announce it on our page, on our socials. You announce it on yours, and DT Roofing is going to buy the malts from 11 to 1. So anybody that shows up, malts on us. And it ended up costing us like $950 total for the 2 hours, but that place looked like a Chick-fil-A at lunchtime. I mean, the
Yep.
drive-through was out into the road. The parking lot was full of vehicles where people got out. Our team was able to introduce themselves and talk a little bit about our services and just fellowship with them. And the business got a ton more business than just the malt revenue that we created for them, because then people are like, yeah, I'll take the two of the free malts and then a number two with extra cheese or whatever.
Yeah.
And so they got flooded with a bunch of business that day. So it blessed them. We got an opportunity to meet, a couple hundred locals that now have been introduced to DT Roofing, and they see that we're not just about the business, that we like community, that we're here to forge relationships with the community. And it has been fantastic. Like that team that we built up over there, they have been firing on all cylinders. They've been part of the chamber, they've been part of the real estate groups, and they're killing it. They're honestly, DT Roofing is starting to become, known in that area really quickly. And it's because we didn't rely on just the traditional approach. We're out there in the community getting involved. That's really what it takes these days, because, I think I might have even said this on the last podcast, but doing good work, good quality work is the minimum now.
Yeah.
Like, that used to be the differentiator
Hmm.
between a good and a bad contractor, was the quality of work. Now it's almost expected. Like, I expect that you're going to do my roof perfectly. So what else is different about you? What sets you apart from your competitors?
And I love that you mentioned that, because like you go into a room and you ask contractors, who's the best installer? Everybody raises, who does the best, who communicates best, like all the things. Oh, that's the baseline. So what we're
Yeah.
talking about, you have to find ways to create an emotional connection to your audience.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Once you can tap into the emotional connection, you can build a lasting relationship where they're going to remember you. I don't
Yep.
know how many times, early on, especially in my door knocking days and just hustling days of, asking a customer, hey, when's the last time you had your roof done? Oh, like 2 years ago. Oh, who did it? I don't know. Right. They don't even
Yeah.
remember, because that contractor, yeah, they did it right. It didn't leak. They paid the bill. But what did they do to create an emotional connection that actually created a lasting relationship? And my mission is to create, I want customers for life.
Well, we
That's
have
what we're trying
example. Yeah.
to create, is customers for life. When somebody buys a roof from us or buys our services, whether it's a repair or roof or whatever it is, I want that customer to be a customer for life. I want them to remember who we are. And anytime they or their family or anyone else that they know needs or comes up in conversation that needs our services or needs a roof or needs anything repaired, they call us.
That's
That's,
it.
again, it's, I mean, you're
Yeah.
shooting for the stars. You're not going to hit it. You're not going to hit a home run every time. But if
No.
that's the mentality that you instill in the entire organization, your marketing strategy, your person on the phones, the production team, the field team, if that's the expectation you set with your teams, it's amazing what happens, over time in building up that reputation to where
Well,
it becomes your main, referrals and repeat customers for the last, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years have been our main driver of business.
oh, same. And to brag on my team a little bit, it's always great when the customer can tell you who did their roof. We actually have situations where people will call in and say, I need a copy of the final invoice for the roof you guys did for me because I'm selling the house. And we didn't do the roof. And so when we call the customer, like, yeah, we don't show you in our system at all, or we show you in our system, but it looks like the notes said that you decided to go with another company. And what it turns out is, in their head, Oh, I'm sure I went with DT.
Yeah, yeah,
They
yeah,
probably went with the other guy because the other guy was offering this or offering that or whatever. But that is when you know you're doing your job, when somebody just swears up and down they used you.
yeah,
Because psychologically, that means that's the logical choice. Maybe they made an illogical choice at the time,
yeah,
but in the moment, 2 years later, they I swore it's like, no, you did talk with us. You're not going crazy. You talked to Justin Sherwood, and it looks like it was between us and somebody else, and you went the other route. Oh, okay. I'm so sorry. Well, let me give them a call, but we're just moving across town, so we'll have you guys come and take a look at that roof or whatever, whatever they have
yeah.
to say to get off the phone. But that's actually a compliment to us because it's like they swear up and down they used us. And
Absolutely,
so,
and that's a perfect segue into like what it means. What are we talking about here? What are we working towards? What are we trying to accomplish with these strategies and with the way we execute in our business? Is establishing true, pure credibility,
and trust.
right? And that's
Yeah.
what it is. It is
Yeah.
credibility and trust. Like
Yeah.
that's what you want to do. You want to instill that in the masses,
And I
right?
want to differentiate those two because credibility is what most roofing companies lead with. It's
Yeah,
we have this many 5-star reviews, we're platinum this, we're master elite that, we've been in business this long. That's credibility. Those are the
yep,
numbers, right? Trust is something that has to be earned. You can't you can't have a customer trust you based on what your Google profile says or what
yep,
your website says, because at the end of the day, somebody within your company formulated that, right? They formulated the perfect story on the website, or the Google reviews being the count that they are is a direct relation to the amount of years you've been in business and your devotion to getting reviews, right? Dominic Frazier can teach all of us a master class on getting reviews. The guy has like 3,000 reviews on his, and fantastic company. But, part of what we talked about earlier and some of the changes in my life is the reason why I came on as the chief operating officer for the Good Contractors List was I've been a customer of theirs. I've been a contractor on their list since 2019. Not only is my roofing company on there, but my construction company and my garage door company are on there as well. And it was the one component that I felt like we were missing. And when I first heard the pitch in 2018 or what have you, when we started in 19, but in 18 is when I first heard about it on the radio out here, I thought, man, that's a pretty good concept. And what it does, and for those of you not familiar with the Good Contractors List, we're the original guaranteed, monetarily guaranteed backed solution for contractors. So it started in 2011, founded by John Stuart Hill, and it was primarily up until about 80 days ago, it was primarily a DFW based solution. And what we do is we back those contractors in all trades, all 50 trades, not just roofing, who have been vetted by our company to be labeled a good contractor based on various criteria. We back every single job they do with a $25,000 guarantee for the whole job, not just the deposit, or it's the actual job itself. And so I came on to the list in 2019, and by 2020, after getting feedback from my sales team and my own personal experience, because at the time I was still in sales, I approached John Stuart Hill and I said, "Why are you not nationwide? Why is this service not nationwide?" Because at the time it was still the only solution out there talking about this at all. And it had been highly successful. In fact, so successful that the Good Contractors List has actually backed $5 billion worth of jobs since its inception from contractors.
that's amazing.
And yeah, and at the time, John just wasn't ready to take the company nationwide. He purposely built it for DFW to address the problem of contractors ripping off, bad contractors ripping off homeowners in DFW because it's
Yep,
rampant. Right, there's 10,000 roofers here alone. Now,
yeah,
now take all the HVAC and the plumbing, electrical. It's a big problem, right? And so it was a big problem to address. And so at the time, he just wasn't mentally ready to. He was going through some health issues, and he just said, "I just don't know what that would look like. I'm going to hold off for now." Well, fast forward to 2025, enough people had gotten to his ear, and he brought on a CEO who came from the the world of Home Advisor and Angie merger and all that stuff. So he had an understanding of that world, but always felt like what the Good Contractors List was addressing was what they were missing.
Yeah.
And so he was on board immediately, and he ultimately convinced John to take it nationwide. Story goes that I was the next visit. John walks into my office unannounced one day, and our office manager says, "Hey, there's somebody up in the front to see you." And I go, "Okay." Go up there, and it's John Hill. And "Hey, can we talk?" So we go into my office, and he starts telling me the story, and he goes, "So we're gonna go nationwide." I'm like, "Man, John, that's great. This is what the nation needs, because homeowners are being screwed everywhere." And then he drops it on me. He's like, "And I'd like you to lead it. I know you believe in what we're doing here. You've demonstrated that through your company. You've been so successful with the program, and I really think that having a contractor at the helm will resonate with other contractors, because you'll look at it from that lens, not just somebody who's trying to build a business and bring in revenue only, but would a contractor think like that? No. And so it's worked. Since 80 days ago, we're now in 18, 19 new states, and it is
Awesome.
exploding. It is exploding. And so it allows contractors to build instant trust with the homeowner, because what it tells the homeowner is you can have all of that credibility, but this backs you that's outside of you, right? Because Randy Brothers can say everything he can about Elite, right? But of course, Randy's going to say that he owns Elite.
Sure. Yeah.
And so, but when Randy says, and we're also backed by the Good Contractors List, and what that is, a company that's vetted us for our integrity, for our quality of service. We had to pass a really rigorous background check and everything. And they're willing to put $25,000 on this job and every single job we do to guarantee that the work I provide is quality and good service. Well, what does the homeowner think? Well, that it's a no-brainer. Like, I'm going to go with you guys. Why? Because one of the reasons why homeowners make decisions to go with people is risk.
Yeah.
Right? They may want 3 bids, but sometimes the 3 bids aren't just because of the dollar amount. It's because I want to figure out which one I feel the most comfortable working
Yeah.
with. Right?
Who do they know, like, and trust, right? They want to trust
Right.
that person
Exactly.
before they
And
make the
so,
decision. It's not always about the money.
and so they may not know you from Adam, but your credentials look good. So you have the credibility. And then you bring in the baked in trust by talking about this guarantee that is with a company that clearly has a track record. It's going all the way back to 11. And so it's helped our companies immensely in winning opportunities. So instead of worrying constantly about the leads, and that's important, right? We want to keep the business moving forward, but we're closing more business
Yep.
because of that type of guarantee than we were before the guarantee was in place.
I
And
love it.
so, yeah, so I even talk to marketing company. I'll say, "Hey, listen, talk to your contractors about this, because the leads you're generating for them, if they're closing more of them because of the guarantee, then you look like a hero, right? And you did nothing other than just do what they paid you to do, is create more opportunity. But then when they're closing more of that opportunity, then they're having an even better experience with you, net
Yeah.
experience."
Some might call it just a job, but they don't feel the weight of it. Rain, snow, heat, aching bones, and late for dinner again. But you keep climbing because families count on you. Homes stand because of you. And that's why we built Peak Performance, the playbook for progress. Real numbers, real insights from real contractors like you. Scan the code. It's completely free, because it's more than just a job.
So real quick, like, 2 things. One, I'm a contractor. What does it take? Like, what is it? What is the you said background check. What's the list? Like, what does it take to get onto the Good Contractors List?
So you have to be in business a minimum of 3 years. The reason why we chose all of these, by the way, are scientific, meaning a lot of years of figuring out what the sweet spot is in each of these areas, because you don't back $5 billion worth of jobs and then get that wrong, right?
Yeah.
Because that's a whole lot of claims that you're having to, come out of your pocket for as an institution when you get it wrong. And fortunately, our claim rate is, I think when I calculated it, it was like 0.00046 or so. It was something stupid, is low, right?
Yeah.
Which affords us the ability to take more of that revenue and market the Good Contractors List in the areas where our contractors are, right? We're not just pocketing that money and, it's a great little, it's a business and we're profitable. We're a for-profit company, but we're also a for-purpose company, right? Our purpose ultimately is to connect good contractors with homeowners that don't want to be screwed. Full stop. There's nothing more than that. And so you have to be in business for at least 3 years. You have to have a good online reputation. So when we go out and we're looking at Google, we're looking at Yelp, we're looking at your Facebook reviews, if we're seeing really low scores, we're seeing a lot of complaints, what have you, you're probably not the contractor for us, because we want to feel comfortable putting you in front of the customers that come to our site to find you. Or if you're offering our guarantee, we want to know that you're a good guy that we're more than likely not going to have claims against. I hear it all the time when we're talking to contractors. Oh, you're never going to get a claim from me. And we're like, that's what we're betting on. That's exactly what we're betting on. That's why we're choosing why our criteria is so specific. So you have to have a good online reputation. You have to have a professional website that homeowners can peruse and understand without, a whole lot of education, what it is that you offer, right? Because that's what a good contractor does is they have a good home base that a homeowner can go and kind of filter you out first before having to reach out to you. And then finally, the owners of the business have to pass a criminal background check as well as a financial background check. But the financial background check is more on the line of, is this somebody who starts up businesses, drives them into the ground, and then just starts another one, drives it into the ground, starts another one with a wake of customers behind.
Unfortunately, we've heard that pattern way too many times.
Oh my gosh, yes. And we're not looking at your bank account. We're not asking for financials in that particular case. And so, as trivial as those requirements sound, you wouldn't believe how many contractors don't meet those requirements. And so, not everybody gets to make. This is not a pay to play. We have to deny contractors all the time. Sometimes it's, hey, you just haven't been in business long enough, but we're going to create what we call their birthday, and it's like, hey, in 17 months is your birthday. So we have it on our calendar to reach out to you and you'll hit your 3-year mark. And as long as everything else is where it needs to be, welcome to the family. But it's not a pay to play. And so those are the criteria to get on the list ultimately.
Love it. Okay. So I made it on the list. Now, how does it benefit me aside from the benefits, but from a marketing, and you said raising my closing rates. So what are the things, how does it benefit me from?
So I actually learned something recently, and when I say recently, I mean this week, that being on the Good Contractors List or having a financial backing period from an AI standpoint is a ranking factor. Because if we remember, when the old traditional ways of searching up somebody, best roofer in my area, generally Google before Gemini is just going to kind of base it off of criteria like, pay to play, PPC, the number of reviews, those type of things, right? But when you consider AI and it's using logic and intelligence, it looks and sees that this company has a third-party financial backing. So logically, this is a better solution for a homeowner because there's less risk. So it's a ranking factor as well.
Well,
and so our contractors, in order to get the opportunity to do business with customers, they have their badge prominently displayed on their homepage. They have it backlinked to their profile on our page, which obviously has its own SEO implications. We have their information backlinked to their website from their profile. So there's that cross-pollination when it comes to the SEO side. And then, of course, we're providing all of the digital and physical marketing assets that they need in order to present this properly to their homeowner, to present properly to their real estate partners. Because again, I spoke to this earlier, real estate agents want to recommend contractors that they trust are going to keep the relationship strong with their customer, right? Randy doesn't want to send his customer over to, Jacob's Roofing, and then the customer stops calling Randy back and like, hey, what happened? Man, I'm sorry, but that guy you sent me, he was so rude, and his, everything about him was terrible. Well, I just lost a relationship potentially millions of dollars in revenue in the future, selling not only them more properties, but their family and friends because of one bad decision that I made and sending them the wrong contractor to work with. And so we lead in our pitches with our relationships with other professionals with the fact that we're on the Good Contractors List and that you quite literally have zero risk sending your customers our way. Not only have we been vetted to make the list in the first place, but we're not going to do anything wrong to get kicked off that list, because then we lose that selling tool.
Yeah.
And so so they love it. They're like, that's amazing. And they'll even tell their customers like that, yeah, you need to use DT. We've been working with them for years. They're also on that Good Contractors List, and in DFW, that actually means something. If I'm in Minnesota, until we grow this out in Minnesota, it's not a household name, but in the DFW market, the Good Contractors List means something. There are homeowners that will not hire a contractor if they're not on the list. Why? Because they don't have to go to Angie's or Home Advisor and hope that they get sent 5 random companies that are just all bidding to the bottom to win their business. The homeowner gets to go to the website and go to roofing and their zip code and then see all the roofers that are recommended in their area. And they know every single roofer on that list is backed by the $25,000 guarantee. So they literally have no risk no matter who they choose. And so the homeowner gets to choose the contractor instead of sending 4 or 5 random, companies that paid for a lead from a lead aggregator to their house. And so that's one of the benefits for the contractor. Another program that we're working on in the back end, we've already established several partnerships, is a contractor resource center that's is being built into the back end of our website. So the contractors will have the ability to go in, and as they log in, the website will know what trade they represent or trades that they represent, and it will have a contractor resource center that will list services that contractors need in order for their business to be successful. For example, a business coach. I'm really good at putting roofs on. I'm really good at selling roofs. I suck at business, right? Well, there'll be a section where it talks about coaching. And then when you click on that, there will be partners that the Good Contractors List has partnered with, like the Roofing Academy, that will be recommended by us to work with in order to succeed in that thing. Or maybe it's bookkeeping, or we're going to have levels of fractional CFO in there, or material vendors. We've already pinned partnerships with the likes of Van Boxel, for example. It's who I buy personally, I buy my synthetic felt, my plastic cap nails, and my coil nails from, and I've had a great experience with them. So naturally, I wanted to partner with them through the Good Contractors List so that all roofers can benefit from that. And all of these companies that are in the Contractor Resource Center have already pre-agreed to better deals for good contractors than the masses, because they want to work with those contractors. And this isn't just for roofing. We have this for every trade. So we're working with the HVAC, the companies that provide services for HVAC. And some of them are universal. A marketing company generally, unless they're very specific on we only serve roofing companies, marketing companies can pretty much serve across the plane. Same with bookkeepers, stuff like that. But there are trade-specific relationships that we're forging, that we're getting agreements put in place so that they will provide a better deal. CRMs like RoofLink and ProLine we're in conversations with to get them on Sales Rabbit. That's actually where I got this hat. I flew out to Utah to meet with the CEO, and this was a funny conversation. So we're in a kind of a casual setting, and we're chatting. He's like, yeah, so tell me more about what you wanted to talk to us about. And I said, I just became the COO of the Good Contractors List, and I'm building a contractor resource center. And he stops me right in my say, and he goes, whatever you want, we're part of it. And I said, okay. He goes, I need you to talk to my guy, my right-hand man, but we're in. And I said, what gives you so much confidence? And he said, I live in Dallas. I've been listening to your commercials for 14 years. I know exactly who you guys are, and I absolutely want to be part of that. And so it was, in this case, our reputation preceded us. I'm talking to a guy in Utah who lives in the community where this thing all blew up, and he knows what the benefit's going to be nationwide as this thing grows like it did in DFW. So now, and because Sales Rabbit owns RoofLink, both of those are partners that are going to be on the list. And so we're vetting the resources the same way we would vet contractors. It's not a pay to play. Not everybody is going to be able to just say, hey, we like to be on the list so we can have access to your contractors. No, there has to be a value to the contractor as to why they're going to work with the Good Contractors List. We're not just trying to get anybody and everybody. We don't want to dilute it. We want them to have such amazing experiences that they're like, thank you. And then the goal ultimately is they're saving so much money on those resources, services by the discount that they're getting by being a good contractor, that it offsets the cost of being on the list in the first place.
Yep, I love it. All the good things, my man. What's the best way? So website, what's the best way? I'm interested. I'm listening to the show. For those of you listening to the show, one, thank you for doing that. Thank you for hanging out with us today. Make sure to like and subscribe. That helps us tremendously, regardless of whatever platform you're on. We're on YouTube. We got tons of, clips as well as full length shows on YouTube. We've done well over 300 of these now. So if you're just now connecting with us, we'd love for you to connect further. Like, subscribe, share with somebody you care about in the contracting industry that could benefit from a show like this. But what are the Good Contractor List? How do I find it? What's the best way, the quickest path of least resistance? How do I find it?
So the quickest way is to go to our website, which is, you could tell that our founder was not heavily into website naming conventions, because it's thegoodcontractorslist.com. So it's a long website. Thegoodcontractorslist.com, and there is a section on the homepage that says either recommend a contractor or become a contractor. And you click on that, you click on whichever one's appropriate, because part of the way that our list has grown so quickly is, yes, we do have a lot of contractors that are inquiring about being a contractor, but we'll have Mrs. Smith who had an experience with an HVAC company who is not on the list. And so she'll recommend that company.
Yeah.
And because she wants them on the list for the future, or she wants other people to have that same great experience, but also have the guarantee. And so we'll have people recommending, we'll have contractors recommending other trades. And so you just go to the website, thegoodcontractorslist.com. Yeah, that's essentially it. I believe there's a section on how you heard about us. Make sure you mention the Roofing Academy podcast.
There we go. Thank you.
Or just say Randy Brothers. But we always love to track where we're getting interest from, and that's how you reach out. Or if you just want to go the lazy route and reach out to me, I'm on Facebook. As you can see, my name, Randy Martin Hurtado. That's exactly how you'll find it on Facebook with a blue check mark. Just message me. I'll be glad to answer any questions that you have initially or what have you. But yeah. It's
awesome, man.
It's
all right,
amazing.
Randy. I'm going to thank you so much for hanging out. I would highly, highly recommend checking out the Good Contractors List, thegoodcontractorslist.com. So you're an entrepreneur, man. You own a number of businesses, now the COO of the Good Contractors List. I know how much you believe in leadership and those sort of things, but the core of the show, man, is about entrepreneurs serving and helping other entrepreneurs. So give me your golden nugget for the day, my man.
In the area of hiring, don't hire for talent unless it's a category that you have to have experience in, like marketing or CFO or what have you. But if you're like hiring sales, hire for attributes you can't train. That represents, out of our 20 salesmen, probably 18 of them.
Yeah.
Only 2 had prior sales experience, and yet they're pulling out the revenue that they are. Why? Because they're genuinely hardworking people with great integrity that play well with others, things that I cannot train in them. If you're just starting out as an entrepreneur, wear as many hats as you can until you can afford not to.
I love it. That's
and
a great
then
one.
Once you can, make sure that you delegate and get those hats off your head. But I think far too many newcomers into industry, they have a couple of good paydays and then they hire a bunch of positions and then they have a slow time and then they're having a fire, and it's this cyclical thing. But wear as many hats as you can until you can afford not to. But those would be 2 good ones for entrepreneurs to hang their hat on.
That works fantastic, my man. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Thank you, Randy Hurtado, for hanging out with me today. I'll let you get back to your day. Thanks, everybody. Take care. And God bless.
Have a blessed day.